Welcome to the Founders Lounge, where business meets bullshit and everything in between. I like the heart socks too.
Yeah, those are. I needed something to match. I got 3 pairs of shoes. I'm kind of embarrassed to admit it. At the outlets in Myrtle Beach. How much do you think it costs? 3 pairs of brand new Adidas.
Three?
Yeah.
$140?
$92, 92 and change.
Yeah.
It's crazy, man. Anyway,
I like Tanger.
Yeah, that's where Sarah dragged my ass there. So I got some shoes out of it. What are we getting into today? Uncle Verity? Uncle Don?
Uncle Donnie. Well, at the end of last week's episode, you kind of alluded into something that got me thinking. And you asked me a question on how we handled, I forgot how you worded it, like an objection or like a complaint within the franchise system. People coming to you wanting to change, what your operating procedure, what your standard is, what the system is. I thought that would be a cool topic for this week. And I have what I call like the 5 kind of non-negotiables.
Mm-hmm.
I like to use that phrase of the way that I like to approach it or kind of deal with it. The first one is you're going to have to learn how to listen, man. I mean, if you franchise your brand and I talk, guys, on this show, we talk a lot about franchising. That's kind of my wheelhouse. So I'm going to relate everything to that, but understand this is relatable whether you're a franchise or not, but with employees, and that sort of stuff. But especially in franchising, you're dealing with multiple personalities, adult personalities, and it is extremely difficult.
It's exhausting. I'll go on.
Especially for a guy like me, because I will be very transparent. Probably in the last year that Yvonne and I have been coaching with Rudy Rixtons, Rudy's taught me a ton of patience, and I didn't have it before. And
nope.
I would have an owner or a franchisee call me, and it would fire me up so damn bad that I would have to walk out the back door of our new building. And if you go across the parking lot over to like where Islands is, all the way at the end of that center, there's this little park with like a couple benches. And I would just have to go sit over there and cool down because I'd want to flip everything over. And I would just lose my cool. And, when you're in getting tongue tied here, in like a heightened state of emotion, you lose all rationale. You can't think, you can't.
Yeah.
And so I would have to just kind of cool down. But, it's taken me a long time to kind of, sounds kind of dumb and cliche, but almost learn the love languages of every one of these people in our system,
That's
and
crazy.
I might not know them all,
but
the majority of them that I have conversations with on the regular, I know each one of them on how I can approach them if there's an issue. There's a handful of guys in our system that I'm, fortunate enough to be buddies with. We talk to them all the time, where we've had disputes and arguments over shit where we're literally cussing at each other, like motherfucking each other up and down on the phone. But within 10 minutes, it's over. But I know that I can do that with them, and it'll get resolved,
it'll work,
and it'll go under the bridge. But there's other people, man, if I did that, I would never speak to them again. They would lose their mind and probably sell and move on and go do something else, never speak to me again. So I would say the most important one for me is learning how to listen when it comes to handling objections from within your brand, within your franchise system.
Yeah, I mean, I think, again, we talk about personas. You brought it up in a previous episode where knowing the persona of the candidate that you're bringing into your franchise family, like, you're right, man. Like, to hear, hey, you got to know the love language of all 500 location franchisees. That sounds daunting, but if you really think like human nature, there's only so many personality types. Like, you can personify, like, hey, man, I know that Mike is more direct. He's going to be the dude I can F-bomb with, but I know so-and-so, they want praise, or they, again, easier said than done. You guys have mastered it. But knowing who you're speaking to and how you're speaking to them will help the patients. And I can only apply to this in that we work with different client types. I don't have franchisees, but they are our franchisee. If you look at it that way, we serve them. So
I would say another big one for me is having a subjective mind and being adaptable. Again,
Mr. Adaptability is often what Don's referred to.
no, it's not. But if you go back to the first episode and listen to it, I mentioned a book in there called Be Water. Be Water, My Friend, from Shannon Lee. And it's kind of me learning that lesson, right? I can't be black and white all the time as much as I want to be. And Yvonne harps on me on this all the time. She's like, you're so black and white. It's just in my nature. It's how I am. I have a big OCD problem. And in a perfect world, you want, every employee, every franchisee to stay in the lines, color within the lines.
Yeah.
Don't go outside this. It's be in a box. And it's just not realistic. It's not going to happen. You're going to get people that, are going to spit 1,000 ideas at you all the damn time. It'll get exhausting. It'll get annoying. But you never know what's going to come out of that. As annoying and as a big of a pain in the ass as that can be, every once in a while you're going to get one that's going to be a huge moneymaker for your brand. Prime example for us is our little chocolate Buckeyes.
Oh, right? Yeah.
We didn't come up with that.
No, I remember. It was...
That was an owner. Girls in Ohio.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean. Like, just being kind of open-minded a little bit and being a little bit more pliable and adaptable and being open to criticism.
Yeah.
Because if you're not, franchising is not the world for you. Because you're going to get criticized. You're going to get told, your system sucks, your model sucks. Doesn't matter who's accountable for it. Doesn't matter if the owner's not doing what they're supposed to do or following said system. Doesn't matter. It's always going to fall on you.
Yeah. It's funny, man, because the Buckeyes, I do remember that. That was like a big deal. Yeah,
remember those?
Yeah, they're freaking amazing, man.
It's still our number one marketplace seller.
And I think it opened, correct me if I'm wrong, I probably am, but I think it opened the gateway to the fudge because I felt like you guys were like, we could try some different things. But I will say, you made a great point, man. And whether you're a franchise or your own small business, try to disassociate as much as you can. This is going to fly in the face of everything I say about personal brand and all that, but you are not exclusively your brand. People are allowed to critique your brand, and it's not a critique of you. But it's a really hard lesson to learn because you feel close to it. It's your baby. But at the end of the day, you are still valuable beyond your business.
Absolutely.
That's a hard thing to live by, but it's one I've heard a CEO about 15 years ago. That was like one of the lessons out of probably a 3-hour speech I heard that I walked. I was like, dude, because this particular person's story was their failure or their fear of failure immediately had their mindset go to seeing them sitting on a curb and people being like, he's a bum. He's a bum. And then when he realized that my failure still wouldn't put me on a curb, that I still bring value to conversations, he's like, I was able to grow better as the business owner. So back to your point, don't get into it if you're going to take everything personally because you're going to hear stuff.
Another thing that I do too, man, that covers this one is I've gotten a lot better at it. I used to suck at this, but somebody would, come to me with an idea and, you get caught up, you're busy, you're stressed out. The last thing you want is somebody to come, hey, man, I got an idea.
Hey, why haven't you done
You're
this?
like, son of a bitch.
You ever thought of doing this one?
The last thing I want is an unsolicited opinion.
Yeah.
But I've learned to kind of listen, hear it out, sit on it, and then sometimes, not all the time, you kind of see the point of what they're trying to do, right? Yeah. And then you're like, okay, can I make this work? And I use an 80% rule, which that's one of mine. I'll get into this in a second. I'm like, will this benefit 80% of the system? If the answer is yes, then I start asking questions. And then I do my, whole analysis and see if it'll work. Whether that's, just insert an example, but, just having an open mind.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great, I've never heard it put into an equation. Like I have heard where people are like, if it's good for the collective, then I'll consider exploring it. And if it's good for you, but no one else, we're not in a position to do it. But
yeah, 80% rule. Well, I'll just get into it. So, Yvonne and I have this thing, we call it the 80% rule. And, we use it. Our FAC has now adapted it. And when it comes to making a decision for the collective, for the brand, right? If we have our monthly call with with our franchise advisory council, you know, and actually, ironically, one of them brought it up just last week when we had one of those calls. You know, somebody had given them something to bring to the meeting to bring it to our attention, which is how that kind of works, right? Mm. You know, the FAC's out there; they're the voice of the body of the system and the owners. And a couple of the owners had shot something up to these guys, and you know, one of the girls on the council was just like, "Look, I can already tell you, and you guys are going to agree, this doesn't affect 80% of our system, so we probably shouldn't even waste time talking about it." But and that's just kind of the gist of it. So, you know, when you're trying to be subjective, have an open mind, and think about these things, does it affect 80% of the system? Because if it doesn't, you got to stand firm, and you got to just say, "Look, I appreciate the feedback, but this is how we evaluate these things. It doesn't meet these you know, doesn't check these boxes. So, you know, just keep it, and down the road we'll look at it again."
Yeah,
you know, I'm never really a prick and saying, "No, get the hell out of here. We're never doing that. You're an idiot."
Yeah, no,
you know,
don't
I want to
guy.
sometimes.
Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes I definitely want to, but I don't.
No, I've heard some ideas thrown out there that clearly would deserve like that kind of like, get the hell out of here, man. This is not the day. But yeah, you're right. Like, I think that the 80% rule, whatever you call it, it makes it real easy for people to understand, because at the end of the day, someone has to go and present it. And if it's going to fall on deaf ears across the line share of the system, why even waste their time, your energy?
No, because it takes time, energy, and money away from things that, you know, the support staff, I'll call them, or, you know, corporate staff, whatever you want to call them, takes away from their time, their energy, their attention to do things that will benefit the system.
And also, I've seen you guys, and I've seen other brands do it too, where it's like, we might not know if it's going to benefit 80%. Then let's pilot it. If we feel like, and you know, it doesn't mean it has to be a full scale rollout. It's like, all right, I feel like keep coming back to those damn Buckeyes, but I feel like they were piloted for a while under the radar.
I don't remember if we piloted them.
I don't know. I thought for some reason it was more of a, because
if it was a Donnie V pilot.
Yeah, like, I think it was. Like,
here's 20 of these, you fat bastard. Eat these damn things, and they were good.
But yeah, man, no, I think that makes complete sense, because you'll argue till you're blue in the face if someone can't understand the equation that gets it past that next step.
We get it all the time.
Yeah, I see.
And as you grow, it's just going to keep happening, and it's going to happen more and more often. So, again, it goes back to having an open mind and patience.
Yeah.
And just learning how to deal with it so you don't lose your shit every other day. Another one that is important to me when I'm looking at how to handle complaints, objectives, issues, you know, that get thrown at me, is really standing firm. We touched this on the last episode a lot. Standing firm on your standards, and the brand is a priority. Yeah. That logo that's on your door, that's what you're protecting. So, you know, you can't let one do something that doesn't have a good outcome for that logo on that door.
And I'll add to that, man. I think that you guys have done a really good job at setting the precedent up front of that mindset. Like, listen, this isn't part of objections come from misaligned expectations. Like, this is community. I mean, we are human beings. We communicate. People remember what they want to remember. Start at the beginning, set the precedent of the expectation, but then remind them, like, you guys, I mean, it's not like you hear it once and then it's a surprise to them. Like, they're, you know, and I get why some groups wouldn't want to do that until they realize we should have done it. It's not an easy thing to do, but you can avoid a lot of issues down the road by.
I'll use a real life example.
Yeah.
And he'll probably listen to this, so he's going to know who I'm talking. He'll know I'm talking about him. That's okay. We're buddies. You know, we've got an owner right now who's getting ready to sign a lease on a new space, and I think it was a Dunkin' Donuts or something like that, where they had digital menu boards, right? TVs.
Yeah.
Kind of like what's behind us. I'm always on the fence with those. Like, if we would have started out with that, great.
Yeah.
Right? You can control it. The way that you can market on them is fantastic. They don't look bad. They look real clean, that sort of thing.
Real-time change, yeah.
Yvonne wanted the kind of older, nostalgic look of the way that ours is now, plus a cost savings. So I get that side too. And that's ultimately, she won that argument. I wasn't going to, stand and die on that hill. And so we've always had the type of menu boards that we have, which is kind of an older, kind of nostalgic look. Well, he's getting ready to, sign this lease, and there's these TVs in there, and he reaches out and says, "Hey, can I test digital menu boards?"
Dude, that's like a major
And I'm
system
like,
overhaul.
son of a bitch, man.
Yeah,
I'm like, do you understand what you're opening me up to? Like, and I'm going to have to tell him.
Menu boards in general, regardless of the vehicle, are a pain in the ass.
I mean,
and now you're talking about a major switch
so
up. And how
I'm going to be at an event this weekend, and I know he's going to bring it up to me because he's going to be there with me because we're going as a big group. And like I said, he's a friend, so I'm not bad mouthing him, and I'll bust his balls about this, but I'm going to have to tell him, like, look, man, do you know what you're opening me up to? Because it's not that simple, right? I'm going to if I say yes and I let you test these, I'm going to get 35 phone calls tomorrow and saying, hey, can we have digital menu boards? Then I'm going to have to explain that, no, it's a pilot. We're not doing it yet. On top of that, whatever goes into it, he's going to have to let us control that, right?
Yeah, the logistics.
You're never going to let go of that control, because then they could put whatever they want on it.
Yeah.
And then you've got a bigger problem.
It's like CETV, you guys. That's kind
of. But this goes back to what I'm saying about protecting the brand, protecting the standards, and the logo. If you let people do this willy-nilly shit, it could have catastrophic consequences that you're never going to be able to reel back in completely.
Catastrophic in terms of continuity and logistics, and like to your point where it's like, man, I got to manage 80 different people calling me the bad guy because I'm saying no to them over something that we weren't even considering a week ago. Digital. The other thing is seeing people apply the brands or go around it to unlicensed stuff where you could face legal issues.
Oh, clothing?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
Right? Muzak. All
we deal
that
with it
stuff.
all the time.
Like, well, why can't we just buy these shirts over here cheaper and just slap the logo? I'll tell you why, because you're looking at trademark infringement.
Yeah. We get it all the time. I'll get owners that'll go out and they'll buy Under Armour polos. Well, guys, guess what? We don't have a license with Under Armour to put our logo on their shirts. Or Nike or, Lululemon's a big one. They'll go after anybody.
Yeah.
But, you've got
So you're setting, and I think that, like, not everyone would be in that situation. Maybe not everyone's a bricks and mortar, but you're right. It's a slippery slope. You start giving in to one thing, it's a Pandora's box potential of...
Correct.
And so, and that's listen, man, I'm like OCD about brands continuity and security, and people get sick of hearing me talk about it, but I'm not doing it because it's a control thing. I'm doing it because it's a security and safety thing for them. And it's like, you start giving people free reign, it will bite you in the ass. It might not do it in the moment, but it will come back and bite you in the ass. And it'll be a lot more costly than any money it could have made for you letting them do it.
Now, on the flip side, playing devil's advocate, I am going to have to think about it, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because it's not a terrible idea. Again, I said I've always been open to these things. I just don't know. I'm playing out in my head how I'm going to have this conversation with this guy this weekend, because I'm on the fence. Like, yes, I want him to do this because honestly, I hope it works. Because I would like to switch us over to that. And I think, Yvonne is kind of open to it. Like, yes.
That'd be awesome.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, listen, dude.
But being able to push promos and different marketing materials out on there. And then, we can do menu changes, flip of a dime.
Look what it takes us now. I mean, it's a year-long lift, guys. I will say this too, because this plays into exactly what you're saying. There's like 10 points to every story, and when some of these great ideas come, they might know 3 of those points. It's a modern way to do it. It'd be easier for us to update, and it's going to look better, and it's already there. You got the other 7. Yeah, but I got a system that I have to convince the cost is worth it. How the hell do we get them in there? What's the software we're using to keep it united? So you're right. Cost. Yeah. I mean, and how do you get franchisees who just love the ones we have now to digest the idea? Well, guess what, guys? It's going to be a few thousand in. You're
spitting out all of the things that I'm going to have to digest.
The 7 other points that the franchisee at their location isn't thinking about. They got the first 3. There's 7 more for 10. I mean,
that's what her and I were talking about the other day when this came up. And I'm like, Yvonne, what are you going to do with the other 70 that don't want to do it?
Listen, man, there's some tricky stuff. What if the software platform goes down?
I mean, there's
a bunch of stuff that could happen.
I'm very realistic, and I can already predict the future, and I can tell you what's going to happen. I might let him test it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I would do that.
But then when the majority of the owners realize what that's going to cost to do it, they're going to be like, oh, no thanks. Because it is expensive. It is very expensive.
Yeah, it's not a joke. I understand the rationale behind doing it. It's just, can you get everyone to buy in? And then logistically, can it really, at this point, you're right. I mean, he's got the infrastructure in place. Part of the problem's already solved for him. So good luck. Good luck with that.
Yeah. Well, I got one more. And you have to know when to stop giving your energy to those that don't respect it. That's a big one. Really big. And being completely honest, I still struggle with that one. You know, I'm very bad about letting the 2% that literally suck the soul out of me and my team and Yvonne and the whole support staff. I'm terrible at just letting them just drain our energy over fielding their complaints and all of their bullshit every day.
Yeah.
Versus taking that time and energy and putting it into the ones that actually want it, that respect it, that will take it and put it into use and implement it into their business. It's a very big one.
Well, it's because you give a shit, regardless of the. I mean, listen. Again, it goes back to the persona, people's love language. There is a fraction of people whose love language is the ability just to bitch about everything.
Well, and there's a realistic. I mean, there is a realistic approach that I feel like you should take. And when you get to that point where it's like, all right, I'm not giving this person any more energy, it's time for them to go.
Oh yeah.
You have to have a very hard conversation with them and say, listen, you're not happy here. Clearly.
It's like keeping a bad relationship.
We figured that out. What do I have to do to get you to that place? You know, if it means selling your location, let me help you do that. Let's figure out an amicable way to part ways here. So that would be my realistic approach on how to handle it.
What do you do if the person refuses to leave? Like, what if it's a marriage that just they won't sign the paper, but no one's happy in it? I mean,
I don't know, man. I've never had that happen.
I asked for a friend. I'm being serious.
We've had, obviously we've seen some marriages come and go, and since we've been a franchise, but it's never been an issue.
I asked because I do have a friend who's got a franchise, and he's just not a fit. There's one particular location, but I don't know if the personality type's going to give in that to like just agreeing that this isn't.
Now, marriages, no, like we haven't really had an issue with that. Partnerships, yes.
Oh.
Which is why I'm not a fan of, especially in franchising, signing a 50-50 partnership.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have somebody that has like operational control, whatever kind of legal term you want to put on that, a decision maker, you're opening yourself up for problems down the road. I know, because I've had to unwind them before.
Episode, dude.
Not easy to do.
Yeah, that's a whole nother. I mean, how to pick the right. I mean, it plays into what we've talked about, but that's a whole different deep dive. So.
Well, that's all I got, man. I hope you guys got a little bit out of that.
And if you guys have ideas too, I know this is a big ask, but let us know, man. I kind of was hoping that as we get this thing rolling, make it a two-way street with what we're talking about. I know these are just a handful of how to deal with objections and all that good stuff, but there's a lot more out there that we would love to hear.
Absolutely.
Get your feedback.
And share the show.
What's that?
Share the show. We haven't even mentioned that.
No, man. Nah, that's why it's like
if you guys enjoy it, you get a little bit of value out of it, do us a favor, share it.
If you know someone that could use some advice or at least want to listen to these two guys talk for a little bit, be entertained, send it their way.
All right, guys. Till next time.
See you guys.